Hey there, eh? Let's talk about neighbors. Not just any neighbors, but the ones who share the longest international border in the world. Specifically, the US and Canada. Two nations with a unique relationship. They share a massive border, stretching over 5,500 miles. Longest undefended border in the world, actually. Trivia time over. But there's more to this story. More importantly, they share something else. A deeply intertwined economy. Goods, services, and people flow freely across this border. Especially in those towns hugging the border. These communities thrive on cross-border interaction. Think of it like a friendly backyard barbecue, except instead of burgers and hot dogs, it's goods and services flowing back and forth. It's a daily exchange that keeps these towns alive. Canadians pop down for cheaper gas, maybe some outlet mall shopping. It's a routine for many. Americans head north for, well, let's be honest, probably healthcare. Just kidding, mostly. But also for the unique Canadian goods and experiences. Point is, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. Both sides gain from this cross-border camaraderie. Or at least it was. Things have changed recently. Now picture this. The music stops. The barbecue goes cold. The once bustling streets are now eerily quiet. That's what's happening in many US border towns. Businesses are shuttering. The vibrant exchange has slowed down. Going out of business signs are becoming more common than welcome mats. It's a stark contrast to the past, and it all boils down to one thing. Canadians aren't crossing the border like they used to. The lifeline of these towns is dwindling. So, what's going on, eh? Why the sudden change? Is it something we said? Did we do something wrong? Did we forget to take out the trash again? Or is there a bigger issue at play? Well, it's a tad more complicated than that. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the reasons behind this shift. Remember that whole economic force thing? Yeah, turns out Canadians are pretty good at wielding it. See, there's been this whole thing with tariffs and trade disputes, and suggestions of, shall we say, annexation that didn't go over well up north. So, Canadians did what any self-respecting, maple syrup-loving nation would do. They launched a boycott. And boy, are they committed. They're swapping California wines for South African vintages, trading Florida oranges for Moroccan citrus. And those weekend trips to US border towns? Canceled faster than a Nickelback concert in Seattle. Too soon? The message is clear. You want to mess with our economy? Two can play at that game. Now let's get down to brass tacks, or should we say loonies and toonies. The impact of this Canadian boycott is real, and it's hitting hard in places like Point Roberts, Washington. Imagine a town where 90% of your business comes from Canadians. That's Point Roberts, or at least, it was. Now businesses like Point-to-Point Parcel, a shipping company that's been around for over 2 decades, are closing up shop. The international marketplace, once bustling with Canadian shoppers, is eerily quiet. And the Saltwater Cafe, let's just say they're not exactly drowning in customers these days. And it's not just Point Roberts. All along the border from Maine to Washington, businesses are feeling the pinch. Restaurants are empty, hotels are ghostly, and the once familiar sound of Canadian accents is becoming a distant memory. Section 4. It's like a ghost town. Voices from the front lines. Numbers are one thing, but stories pack a punch. Just ask Bob from Point-to-Point Parcel. He poured 24 years of his life into that business, built it from the ground up. Now, he's closing his doors, forced to lay off loyal employees who depend on those paychecks. Or talk to Sarah, owner of the Saltwater Cafe. She used to greet Canadian regulars by name, knew their orders by heart. Now she's staring at empty tables, wondering how she's going to make rent, let alone keep her staff employed. These aren't just statistics, these are real people, real lives being upended. It's the human cost of economic disputes playing out in small towns across the US. Section 5, the ripple effect US-Canada trade relations on thin ice. So, we've got businesses going belly up, we've got families struggling to make ends meet. But the real kicker? This isn't just about lost profits and empty storefronts. This is about something much bigger. The relationship between the US and Canada. These two countries, they're like siblings. Sure, they squabble. They might borrow each other's clothes without asking, looking at you, Canada, and our maple syrup. But at the end of the day, they've always had each other's backs. But now, there's a tension, a frostiness that wasn't there before. And if this trade war continues, well, let's just say family therapy might be in order. Section 6. A region in peril, economic fallout and uncertain futures. The economic fallout from this trade war is real. It's hitting hard in places that were already struggling to stay afloat. And it's not just limited to those towns right on the border. Even communities further inland are feeling the pressure. The ripple effect is spreading, reaching places that never expected to be affected. Trucking companies that relied on cross-border shipments are feeling the squeeze. Their livelihoods are at stake. Farmers who depend on Canadian markets for their produce are facing uncertainty. Their crops are going unsold and their future is in jeopardy. The entire economic ecosystem is out of whack. Businesses are closing and jobs are disappearing. And the future? Well, that's about as clear as a glass of Canadian tap water. Will the boycott continue? Will tariffs ease? Will common sense prevail? Only time will tell. The uncertainty is palpable. But one thing's for sure, this situation is a stark reminder of how interconnected our world is. The actions of one nation ripple across borders. What happens in Washington impacts Ottawa. Decisions made in the halls of power have far-reaching consequences. What happens in Ottawa impacts Washington. The ties between our countries are deep and complex. We're all in this together, folks. Our fates are intertwined. Time to start acting like it. Cooperation and understanding are more important now than ever. Section 7. Stay informed, stay engaged, the future of global trade. Look, I'm not an economist, I'm just a guy with a show who's really good at pointing out hypocrisy and absurdity. But even I can see that this whole trade war thing is a mess, and it's not just about the US and Canada, it's a global issue, so, what can you do? Well, for starters, stay informed, read up on what's happening, educate yourself, because knowledge, as they say, is power. And once you're armed with information, get engaged. Talk to your elected officials, support businesses that promote fair trade practices, make your voice heard, because the future of global trade and the livelihoods of countless people depend on it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to find some poutine and contemplate the complexities of international relations. Stay informed, everyone. And for the love of all that is holy, let's try to get along, eh? Remember, every small action counts. Whether it's a conversation with a friend or a letter to a representative, your voice matters. Let's work together to create a fairer, more connected world.